everybody. My name is Ryan Shear with Love to Now, and I am joined by Sheriff Matt Fredrick and Fire Chief Daniel Jones, and we're going to have a little discussion. Last night we had a little bit of excitement, I guess you would call it. 2 children went missing over by the KOA exit area. And,
yes, sir.
And we kind of watched that unfold on social media. So as we were watching that unfold on social media, there was a lot of questions. Social media is full of questions and full of
all the time
things, full of, now I don't want to say it in a bad way, armchair quarterbacks and all of this stuff. So, so we seen each other this morning at the flag thing, and I'm like, hey, you guys want to stop by? Just sit down and kind of talk more about what a situation like this, the situation last night, just give the people at home a little more clarity. So thank you guys for joining us.
Sure, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I got some very simple questions. So last night, we get a NICSL alert, or an alert that goes out about 6 p.m. That these 2 children are missing.
Sure. So, at 7:55, well, it would have been past 7:55. That's when we received the initial call for service in reference to, the father waking up, and he said, hey, the kids aren't here. I can't find them. And then we come on out there. And, once law enforcement gets out there, everybody can kind of see what's going on. But once we got out there and we started doing our initial interviews, we start requesting assistance from outside agencies, and we get Lebanon Rural out there. Those folks are the experts at finding folks that are lost and, setting up a command center and getting things going from that point.
So that's just kind of the process, what we have to do to get that done so we can find them safely. We want to keep the community safe as well as us, and that's part of why we kind of have to take steps to get the process going. And sometimes it just doesn't seem as fast as what people want it to be, but that's just part of how we got to keep that process going so we keep our guys safe, plus the community if they want to step in and help when we need them to.
Keep it organized.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the agencies involved, because once this kind of starts gaining steam, because there's a lot of times you get a call, hey, my kid's missing. By the time you get there, they find them, whatever. So take me a little bit through, the gaining steam and the getting more agencies involved.
So on our side, as our deputies get out there, we take those initial interviews of the witnesses at hand, the parents, to find out what's going on out there. And try to get a feel for the kids. What are they interested in? What might they do? Do they go fishing? Kids, oftentimes see bodies of water. They want to go to them. So we try to find out those things. And when these come in, people, like Daniel said, they start worrying. Boy, it's taken so long. Well, here's the thing. Most kids that are lost, and we get this call, they're found really quick. And a lot of times it is really close to home, if not in the home. Kids will fall asleep in closets, under beds, in a doghouse. And, a lot of the folks on social media were saying, well, hey, did you check in a doghouse? My cousin's kid was in. We got you. All those things happen. So, we're checking out. We're, going, asking folks, hey, do you mind if I go in your house? Can I check your sheds? And we start doing that. And once we get to that point where we realize this could take a while and we need to bring in more folks, that's when we start calling out for assistance. And, again, like Daniel said, we're trying to keep things organized. We don't want too many hands at the pot at one time. And geographically for this place, it's a dead-end road. It's a narrow road and only one way in and out. And even as emergency vehicles are getting there, we had to organize those because, we show up, we park wherever we park, and then we can't get other emergency vehicles through. But yeah, we're requesting anybody we can within our local agencies to get out there.
So yeah, our process is when we start requesting agencies, we look at kind of what resources we need. Our big one big resource that we've been using here lately is Osage Beach Search and Rescue. They got dogs, they got drones, which we have a drone, and the Sheriff's Department has drones. So we have the thermal capabilities right off the bat, so we can get that stuff going. Then High Patrol, they have the thermal with a helicopter, so that has a bigger picture. They have a little more technology on the helicopter than our drones do. So those kind of resources is what we start with, and then once we figure out what we need, the dogs can't find, we'll do our initial searches, and then we start branching out and calling in for more resources on the ground with the foots. that's just the only way to do it organized.
Right, and with that, one of the issues that we were running into is once we started getting the dogs to arrive, we start hearing, okay, for this asset to be there, we require having folks off the ground for a while. So now we have people searching the local area. We're calling them back in. We've got our drone up, by the way. Thank you, Missouri Cooperage, for helping us with that. We get this thing up in the air. Again, we don't all have radios. We're not all synced together. We can't necessarily see where everybody is. And then the issue that we're having is we have the eyes in the sky, and they see everybody moving.
How are you going to differentiate
which one's an asset and which one? Yes,
and
absolutely.
And those things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a time frame that we go a little bit slow.
So when you get there and the investigation starts, investigation, in this particular case, was there anything that you deemed as criminal or suspicious, or because that can matter
Sure.
how you look for somebody?
Oh, it absolutely does. And oftentimes we'll have this awkward conversation with the family, and we did last night as well. All the calls for service that law enforcement take, we have to filter out through the things so that we can go ahead and eliminate what it could be, and not necessarily in this case, but is there an ex over here that wanted the kids that snatched, we're worried about that. Is somebody hiding a kid? And again, that wasn't in this case, but we need to eliminate those things because, in order to figure out how we can best search for them.
And I have a question maybe when you guys can answer is there wasn't an Amber Alert.
There was not.
And why is that? That was a big question. I asked that question as well. I kind of found the answer, but I want you guys to explain why in this particular case was there no Amber Alert?
So the purpose of the Amber Alert is whenever we believe there's a suspected kidnapping. And in this case, again, law enforcement, we're investigating that. To our knowledge, last night, from everything that we received, talking with the parents and folks in the community, we had no reason to believe that they had been kidnapped. Now, is it possible that they're kidnapped? Maybe, but here's the thing. Statistically and around here, we have been so blessed. That's not the kind of thing that occurs around here. So we had no suspect. We have nobody to suspect of kidnapping the kids. So we focused our effort where we believed they were, and ultimately, we were right.
Anything to add to that?
No, we just branch off what they do, and that's part of the process for us too. Is we kind of do the same interviews secondary.
Yeah.
You never know you're going to get more information, or it could be they don't want to tell law enforcement something that they'll fire.
I was just
somebody.
getting ready to ask. Like when a fireman comes, you guys have a less throw me in jail authority than Matt does here.
It happens a lot.
Do you guys find out? I mean, of course you're going to have to report back, but
Sure.
I was just wondering that. So when it comes to community support volunteers, how many people at one time were looking for the children?
Did we have about 50 to 60?
We had about 50 to 60 on the ground with all the
Right.
teams and the fire departments.
And there comes a time, me and you talked about this morning, I want to be real honest with it, there comes a time when you have enough help and you need the public to kind of stay away.
Correct. And again, we were having problems getting assets in and out.
Yeah.
There's still things happening within the community where a law enforcement response is needed. And this may sound not great for cops, but whenever we've got the fire department out there and we've got search and rescue, if something's going down somewhere in the county and there has to be a law enforcement response, the great thing is we've got great partners like Lebanon PD and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, the other counties, that they're going to help us with that. But if we need to get somewhere, we need to get somewhere.
Yes.
We had so many folks that were trying to pile in because they've seen social media and whatnot. We had issues getting our vehicles in and out. And, we have people wandering up on site. We're trying to figure out who owns the 1973 Bug.
Yeah.
They're a quarter mile away trying to, see what they can do with their
when you have
flashlight.
missing kids, everything's important.
Yes.
Right? But speaking of social media, because we are based on the news side of things that we do are based in social media.
Sure.
I know that once the grandmother reached out, and we got pictures of the kids, we got them posted on Lebanon Now, and that post alone it's sitting at like 180,000 views right now.
Sure.
And everybody, I mean, it wasn't just us, it was everybody was posting about these kids, getting them out there, rotating them out there. So what role does social media play? Not necessarily in this case, because we understand the outcome, but other cases that social media is getting that information out there for you.
You see it. Daniel sees it with his. it gets out there so quick. It's viral in an instant. One of the issues that we have is we have to be careful what we put out there because it will catch on like wildfire, and then there's no dragging it back in. And we don't want to put out the wrong information.
And there's times where we've talked and stuff, and you're like, I'll release a statement. I'm messaging you, and you're like, nope.
Right.
Because that's the fact of the matter is there might be something in that investigation. And the people out there want to know, and I want to know. We all want to know. That's human nature that we want to know what's going down. But sometimes you guys have to hold certain things back for that reason.
We do, and this morning I was going through, after about 3 hours of sleep and several cups of coffee, I was going through some of the social media posts, and people wanted to know specific things. I've got it. There's folks out there that they just want to know stuff. They just want to know. That's fine. And there were folks out there posting things that you go, I don't even know where that came from. But there are a lot of good ideas out there. And people are really thinking. There's a lot of folks that have been in emergency services, first responders, and they go, hey, folks, this is why they did this. In reference to, I think one of them was in reference to the Amber Alert. Like, there's a reason that we do things. And we love it when we can get that information out accurately. Again, we're trying to find kids, but families and lives are kind of at stake socially. We don't want to put the wrong thing out there and it just get bad. We just want to put out the minimum of what we need to. We've got missing kids, they're 3 and 4. People say, well, what do they look like? I don't know. If you see a 3 or 4-year-old that looks missing, I think that's your description. And ultimately, we put out what we can, but people have to realize we may not have access to that.
And we would be, with citizen media out there, with real media and this and that and KY3 and anytime a missing kid goes and all of that, a lot of times some of those people don't respect investigations, some of them do, and you guys just have to be up on that. Like, there's an app on your phone, you can listen to scanners, right? I didn't have it until last night, right? But once I seen that there was some chatter or whatever, I went ahead and I downloaded it because I'm up at 1:30 in the morning,
What else are you going to do?
And trying to keep up on it. I really want to give the community credit because as a whole and for the most part, you had an entire 15,000 person, 36,000 person community getting ready to get up out of bed and go look for these kids.
And to throw a shout out, a couple of the folks out of the prosecutor's office were out there last night waiting in line saying, what can we do? And so kudos to them. And, we have parents that just said, hey, if my kids were missing, I'd want somebody out here.
Of course.
And so we had that outpouring, and that was amazing. I had Sheriff Darren Cheek of Dallas County, Roy Cole of Webster, and B.J. Adler at Wright County just called me up while they were out there and said, hey, man, whatever you need, you let us know. And if we've got the assets available, they're coming. And I'm sure you received the same from your folks. And people were ready, but again, we have that process, and Daniel, he's good at this process of finding folks that are out there. It takes time to get through it, but it's an appropriate process.
So let's talk about them being found, because you have thermals, you have dogs, you have everything going on, trying to locate these children. So finally, after it was about 5-6 hours.
About 5 hours, just over 5 hours.
You locate them, and correct me where I'm wrong, they were found under a porch asleep.
They were found on a porch. I think one of them was asleep, and one of them probably woke up with the lights, would be my guess.
And how far away from the original location? Because we've heard a couple different things. How far away from that original location were they found?
They're actually just about 0.8 miles away from the actual property through a field.
Okay.
They would be a little bit getting to the road. Of course, it takes a little bit to drive around properties.
Right. So that's about 3 mile would have, because to take a car from one place to the other.
Absolutely.
But 2 kids walking, it was less than a mile across a field.
Correct. And the amazing thing is, I believe one was in a pair of rubber boots, the other one was barefooted. And I think one of the words that I heard the kids, because I went over to the ambulance to check on them, and they said something about an adventure.
They did, and a lot of other people did too.
And it was an adventure that went a little too far.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think they had a backpack with some stuffed animals, and they were getting it.
So
That's
this is
what they
almost
were gonna do.
premeditated. These kids are like, we're just going to go over there, right?
Right.
We're just going to go take a trip.
Kids are curious.
Yeah,
they
and
absolutely
especially like I grew up out where we had fields, and it was less like in town. You're not going to get very far. Why is that 4-year-old walking down, Jefferson or whatever? But out in the country, you have large plots of land that don't have anybody on them.
Right. And, you know, one of the things is, as I was pulling up and I got on Campground Road, you know, I was looking at houses, I'm looking at front porches because I'm thinking if I'm a kid and I'm lost, I'm going to try to find a house. And if I do, kids knock soft.
Yeah.
They don't just pound on a door, and then they're probably going to end up in your lawn chair sitting on the front porch. Well, that's basically what we had, but they had found this house that was unoccupied.
That's what I was going to say. It's an unoccupied house, so there wouldn't anybody.
And you know,
driveway.
you can't see the house from the roadway. It's a long, treacherous driveway. I've been down it before, and yeah, they just go, and you know, they don't understand, you know, the timing of everything. As the sun's coming down, it's just, we're this far out on our adventure.
And then they get scared.
I get scared. It's getting dark, but I know there's a house here. I'm going to go to it, and that's what we had. So you know, it was the best possible outcome that we could have had.
Of course. You know, but we all collectively hold our breath.
Yes.
You know, I remember when you know I got the word that they had been found and they were okay. And they were just going to, you know, we released on Lebanon Now. We said, hey, they've been found, and we've located them, and they seem unhurt. And there was just this collective sigh, right? A lot of moms going, my little mom heart can go to bed now. And we can relax because it's you don't know how it's going to end until it ends. And it could always be bad. And this was the best possible outcome.
You know, and even at the command site, I heard one guy yelling, hey, they've been found. Man, we've all played the telephone game as a kid.
Right.
What does that mean? And, you know, that starts getting around quick. It quickly got to you.
Yep.
I'm getting a hold of my my captain. She got a hold of me. Hey, do you want me to go ahead and post that they've been found? And I said, I want to see the kids in person first, pat their heads and go, they're here, because I don't know how they've been found.
Right.
And so we waited for that. So it took a little while. So we may have been, you know, one of the last agencies to put out that they've been found, but we didn't want to put out the wrong information.
And when I can't go through but you know, the scanner's saying, hey, they've been found, and then I message somebody that I know, and there's that big pregnant pause of what condition are they in? Right. There's that big pregnant pause of what condition they're in.
Yeah.
And they're safe. And I mean, I think that is a big deal. And I commend you guys. And you know what, I'm going to ask you this. Is there anything that you would have done differently? I mean, nothing's perfect.
Sure, and we'll go over that more, you know, on our techniques.
You don't get to practice this every day.
No, we don't. You know, and for instance, the school incident, you know, last month, you know, we run into these things and we go, goodness gracious, what could we have done better? Maybe we'd have done this, that, and the other. But ultimately, we get a lot of good minds out on site. Daniel's checking me with things that I'm saying. I'm checking him. You know, we've got random person out there that says, I think we ought to do this. Well, maybe that's a good idea. And so, you know, we went through it. I feel that we were doing what we needed to do with the resources that we had in order to not contaminate an area. And again, one of the things that Daniel was talking about is, you know, we get out there, we get folks, volunteers out there that they get hurt, and now we're dedicating resources to them. And that's things that I think folks on the other side of the screen don't always realize is we don't want anybody else to get hurt, because then now that takes our focus off of the reason why we're out here.
Yeah, he said that
Sorry
pretty well.
if I took it.
Nope, you're good. Hey, it works. As long as it's said is, and on the training side of it, we try to teach each incident as a teaching lesson. And we do everything's good, things that were bad. We have the conversation after every
and how
thing.
to improve on it.
We can always do better. I think that every incident, in general, you can always do better.
Absolutely.
There's always something that happened or someone said or it didn't go good, because we're thinking off our heads, just like, what do we know quickly, what we got to do. So, I mean, this is the kind of things that we do as the fire department. It's the same as the sheriff's department as well.
And, you know, one of the other things that folks see is, you know, you mentioned the armchair quarterback. we're dealing with emotions out on site,
Oh, yeah.
family members that are coming up with new information about the situation. And so the situation is dynamic when we're out there. And that's the great thing about having the different professionals with their different
Yeah.
skill sets out there. And it just comes together.
And officers aren't robots either. And when you have,
Right.
and children are missing, and this is going, and
Oh, yeah.
young people with children, and they're going through that thing. So with that, I would just say, is there anything else you would like to add? I know you guys are both busy, got busy days, but is there anything else you guys want to add to the narrative at all?
I don't think so. I think all the citizens that did help come out. If we have something like this again, all we do is ask if you come to the command post, and that way we can establish an organized search for volunteers. Just that way it's more safe for everybody.
Yeah.
Just having general public just out in the woods, well, I mean, if they got a medical condition, like you said, now we
Yeah.
have to worry about them versus just everything. So reach out to command post if there's something like this, and we want helpers. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what, I mean, we're a volunteer
Yeah.
agency, so that's what we do. And the emotion things, it's high for everyone. I mean, we're humans, especially us
Right.
that have kids around the same age. So we're trying to think what we need to do for the best outcome, plus trying to deal with the emotions on that side of things too. So, I mean, it's all just a lot of build up stuff on the scenes.
And again, from the law enforcement aspect and just safety in general, we look at this and we're speaking with the family members. I hope families out there look at what they do and think about things that they need to do same or different at their house to ensure that these incidents don't happen. And we get these calls throughout the year. Hey, I took a nap. Kid's missing. I don't know where they are. Can't tell you not to take a nap, but I can tell you you need to have something out of the way that prevents that kid from leaving the house. And so the way that we take these things, and we always try to find ways to improve on it and use it as a training tool, let this be something for the community that they go, you know what, let's think about this. Reach out to your local law enforcement agency, your local first responders, and ask us to come speak at schools, at parent activities, at your church, and let us give you some tips on things that we see from our end. And we will help you create better ways to be safe in the community. And throw this out there for Daniel, and I try to do this a lot. We have a lot of folks on social media that say, by gosh, you need to do this and this and that and the other. These are volunteers. These are guys that, whenever I was in school, that 17, 18-year-old that had a radio that was sitting in class and it went off in class and they were able to leave to go do what they needed to do in the community. That's gone by the wayside. Kids don't volunteer. So, we're looking for adults. I think the average age for volunteers has skyrocketed because there's not many people to volunteer anymore. So if you feel the need, get a hold of Daniel. Reach out to your area and your local fire department. They need people. And we needed people last night. We had people, but, at some point in time, if people stop volunteering, we're not going to have this resource.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
And everybody out there, make sure you're respectful in comments. We don't always have to agree, but we have to respect that. Remember that every time that you keyboard warrior, there's another human being on the end of that. Last night, it might have been parents. It might have been first responders. It might have been whatever. You don't have to agree with everybody. Just be respectful when you disagree. And with that, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming
Thank
on
you.
and helping us keep the community connected.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.